All right. Happy Sabbath. It is now July 15, 2017, and we are going to continue on the studies of the Tidings. We're almost done, actually, the study of the Tidings, Tidings of the East and the North. When we study about the Tidings of the East and the North, we realize that there's two predictions. Either there's two prophets or two predictions that gives prediction at pre-midnight, right? Before midnight, there's going to be predictions given. And then we studied it in the story of the Medo-Persians. It was two prophets who were brought up before Ahasuerus was going to be a ruler. Haggai and Zechariah, right? Okay, who was the prophet? Who gave the message before the time of Claudius was going to come? Because there's going to be a persecution and people are going to be thrown out of Rome at the time, and there's going to be a dearth at the time of Claudius. Who was brought up? Agabus, right? Agabus gives a prediction, right? And Agabus gives a prediction together with Philip, who had 4 virgin daughters who also prophesied, right? So Agabus and Philip, Haggai and Zechariah, and then what we studied also was during the time of the Millerites. It's William Miller and Samuel Snow give. What we'll also study is Josiah Litch, right? Gives predictions. And what we studied last week was that even Muhammad gives predictions. Yeah, remember? It was 2 weeks ago we gave the predictions. What was his prediction? What did Muhammad predict? What did Muhammad predict? He predicted that Rome is eventually going to win. Even though that Syria wins now, Rome will eventually win. So that what he's predicting is that the Battle of Raphia, right? Russia is going to first win, but then eventually America is going to take revenge, right? Yeah. Okay. But then also he says, what happens if you do not regard our Allah? You are going to be punished. Rome is going to be punished for what? What you have done to the Aryans, right? What you have done to the Aryans. You're going to be punished for what you have done to the Aryans. Can you imagine? Islam actually said this to Catholics. You know, you are going to be punished for what you have done to the Aryans in 628 AD. You know, that's basically a prophecy that you can extrapolate even in our time. Right? Right? Rome is going to suffer what they're going to do to the Aryans. Okay, so now we will continue with another one. I think this will be the last of the Tidings, and we're going to transition to pre-midnight prediction. Ezekiel 8. Did I go in? Is it Ezekiel 8? I think it's Ezra 8. Okay, I think it's, I'm sorry, this is not Ezekiel 8. It's got to be Ezra 8. It's got to be, what am I writing? Ezekiel 8. It's got to be Ezra 8. Okay, it's going to be prediction at midnight that we can see in Ezra. Okay, the story of Ezra. All right. Yeah. Ezra 7 and Ezra 8. Okay. All right. I gotta make a revision of that. I did it wrong. All right. This is when we study Ezra 7:9. Right. Now Ezra 7:9 was the story of Ezra when he came out at the time of Artaxerxes, when he carried the third angel's message, right? And he carried the third angel's message, and he was going to rebuild the sanctuary service, restart the sanctuary service in Jerusalem, right? Because the sanctuary had already been finished at the time of Darius. It was started at the time of Cyrus. The first the second and the third angel's message. Here you go. First, second, and the third angel's message. Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes. Right? Okay. And remember, false Smyrnis was when the building of the temple was stopped, and they had to restart it at the time of Darius. Right? And there were the two prophets that came up, gave predictions. Right? And they says, there's going to be a problem. You better get out of Babylon. They were in the time of Darius. Said, during the time of Darius, come out of Babylon. Why? Because who's going to be the next king? Xerxes. And what's going to happen at the time of Xerxes? It's going to be Haman. The time of Haman and Esther, right? That's why you got to come out of Babylon during the time of Darius. And you do not want to suffer at the time of Xerxes. So that's the Zechariah and Haggai's message, come out of Babylon, all right? And then there's going to be Zerubbabel is going to be the signet, right? All right. So the prophecies of Zechariah and Haggai predicts what's going to happen at the time of Xerxes. Okay, we did that before, but now what we're going to study is Ezra. Ezra 7:9, and Ezra 7:9 is so crucial to study. Upon the first day of the first month, this is what we did in Sabbath school. We just did the first day of the first month began he to go up from Babylon. So he came out of Babylon on the first day of the first month, and on the first day of the fifth month came he to Jerusalem, according to the good hand of his God. So Ezra had the third decree. He had the third decree in his hand. He came out of Babylon to restore the sanctuary service in the finished tabernacle in Jerusalem. That was actually finished at the time of Darius, right? He came out here, 457 BC, 457 BC, right? Okay. That's the beginning of the 2300-day time prophecy, right? Okay, so let's do this. This is the first day of the first month. We already established that's at 9/11. All right, 9/11. I have to put it. This thing is blocking, but this is 9/11 right here. Okay, and the first day of the fifth month, first day of the first month is 9/11. 1D 1M. Okay, that's my my way of writing it. Okay, first day of the fifth month is when? When is the first day of the first month?
They arrived at Jerusalem.
When did they arrive at Jerusalem, right? Well, where does that line up in? When does that line up? Midnight cry. First day of the fifth month is midnight cry. Okay, we can go and prove this, but we have uploaded this on video so many times before. Okay, you can find it and Dragon is Wrath, obviously. But first day of the fifth month is the midnight cry. Okay, all right. And then they've proven that the first day of the fifth month is midnight cry because here is the 10th day of the seventh month. All right, and the 10th day of the seventh month lines up exactly with October 22, 1844. And in our timeline, it lines up with the Sunday law, right? The National Sunday law. All right, so this is the first day of the first month. And this is the first day of the fifth month. Okay. All right. Now when we look at this timeline here, we know this is the first angel's message. And this is also lines up with 1798, which is the time that William Miller first started receiving the first angel's message. Right? In 1798. It's the time of the end. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put Daniel 11 on this timeline. All right, where in Daniel 11 is the time of the end? Which verse? Anybody of you? 40. You got to be more specific. 40 part what?
Part 1 and 2.
Not part and 2. Part B, yeah, part 2. Part 2, that's Okay. All right. So that's, it's part A first. Okay. This is part 9:11 is part B. Okay. Let's read it. And at the time of the end, right, shall the king of the south push at him. So who's the king of the south that pushed at the king of the north at the time of the end in 1798? France pushed at the papacy. That's 1798. That's the first part. And still at the time of the end, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. When did the king of the north now take revenge on the king of the south? 1980, right? That's also 1989. All right, that's 1989. Okay. With horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. And he shall enter also into the glorious land. All right, that's 11 verse 41. And when he shall enter into the glorious land, that's the Sunday law. Right? That's the Sunday law. Wait a minute, did I get this wrong? This is not 9:11 here. And 40 part B. And the king of the north, and the king of the north shall come against like the whirlwind. This should be 1989. Yeah. I'm sorry, this should be over here, right? It should be over here, okay? Yeah. Right? Yeah, it's actually over here. Then over here is, right, yeah. But it's also 40B. 40B should be 1989, right? It should be 1989. So I should make a revision on this. Okay, but that was not, the point is that there's going to be a lot of things that needs to be filled in. Not sure why it keeps blinking there, right? What we have here is a lot of blanks between verse 40 and verse 41. There's a big blank here, right? And we need to fill it in. Also with the first day of the first month and the first day of the fifth month, there's blanks here. We need to fill this in, okay? So just looking at Ezra 7:9, we realize there's a lot of blanks here that needs to be filled in, all right? Okay, now we can go to Ezra 8. Ezra 8 verse 15. And I gathered them together to the river that runneth to Ahava. So Ezra come out of Babylon on the first day of the first month, right? That's 9/11. Okay. First day of the first month, he come out of Babylon, and what did he do? And he stopped at the river of Ahava, and there he abode in tents 3 days. So he abode in tents for 3 days. And I viewed the people and the priests, and found there none of the sons of Levi. Said, wait a minute, we only got priests here. What are we going to do in Jerusalem with only priests? We cannot have a service in the temple without priests, without Levites, and without Nethinims. So he at the river of Ahava, that's my little river of Ahava, and he abode in tents for 3 days. Okay, what is important, that 3 days here. Now we're going to use that 3 days. So if he arrived here, I'm going to put the 3 days of Ahava is actually at pre-midnight, right? And we're going to see why that is when we go onward with the study, okay? The 3 days is actually here. He comes out here and he stays in Ahava for 3 days. Okay, so the 3 days, I'm going to put it right here, right? And we're gonna have to prove this, why this is true. He's looking for priests. The priests are looking for Levites and Nethinims. Levites and Nethinims. All right, now we put another line. We're going to put another line. The 3 days, where do we get 3 days when somebody is actually making predictions at pre-midnight? Because at pre-midnight, there's going to be predictions that are made. We already established there's like Agabus and Philip. There's Zechariah and Haggai. There's Joseph also. Joseph made predictions now that we can place at pre-midnight. Okay, here we go. Genesis 40, verses 18 to 22. And Joseph, and now remember he was put into prison. And when he was in prison, he met the butler and the baker. And the butler and the baker told him of their dreams, right? Right. And he says then, and he was going to interpret them, right? And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets, okay, here are the 3 baskets, right, are 3 days. Right, here we go. There's the 3 days again, right? It's like them in Ahava for 3 days. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall the Pharaoh lift up thy head from thee and shall hang thee on a tree. At the end of these 3 days, you are going to be lifted up. But you are going to be lifted up to be what? To be killed. Oh, boy. And the birds shall eat thy flesh from thee. And it came to pass on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday. Okay, that's why I put 3 here. I didn't write the 3 because I... Okay, that's the 3 candles. You know, this is the 3 days. This is Pharaoh's birthday. So Pharaoh's birthday is at midnight. Okay, and we're going to put the 3 days here. Pharaoh's birthday. He's going to be lifted up to be hanged, right? And he restored it. So what about the butler? And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again and gave the cup unto the Pharaoh's hand. Because he had I think three grapes, and he made it to a cup and then he gave to the king, and the king accepted it, okay? And that means that he's going to be lifted up and return to his old job. Okay? When? In 3 days' time, at the time of the birthday of the Pharaoh. Okay? There's meanings. There's big meanings here. There's big meanings. We know this story, so this is a Bible story for the kids. But there's big meanings, right? Every story in the Bible teaches us of the time of the end, right? Of the end of the world. Every story in the Bible is a prophecy of the end of the world. Okay. And it came to pass in the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, right? So it was 3 days, and it's what? It's Pharaoh's birthday. And he made a feast unto all his servants. And what did he do? He lifted up the head of the chief butler, and the chief baker among his servants. So they were both lifted up. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again. And he gave the cup unto the Pharaoh's hand. And he hanged the chief baker. And Joseph had interpreted them. So what happened? The chief butler was lifted up and he lived. The chief baker was lifted up and he died. All right? Okay, that's my representation. And make it easy for you to remember.
I wonder why it's saying lifted up. Both were lifted up.
They both were lifted up.
The other one died and then lived.
Yeah.
Remove out of prison.
Right, right. Because what? This is the wise priests, and this is the foolish priests. At midnight, they're going to be separated, right? Yeah. They're going to be separated. At midnight, they're going to be separated, okay? So the thing about it is, if this is pre-midnight, can you tell that they're wise and foolish even before midnight? Even before the harvest? Didn't the servants say to the owner of the land, hey, you know what? There's wheat and tares here. Right? They recognized there's wheat and tares. But said, oh, let's just leave them. Why? Let them grow until when is the harvest? The harvest is here. Right? So can the wheat and the tares be recognized before midnight? Yes. Right? Because the chief and the butler and the baker were recognized here. And then in the 3 days' time, they're going to be separated, right? One be lifted up to their death, one be lifted up to their old job, right? Okay, all right. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. So it was 2 full years later, right? So it's 2 full years later that the Pharaoh dreamed, and now the Pharaoh has a dream. And how many dreams did he have? He had 2 dreams, right? He dreamed one, he woke, and then he dreamed again. So he had 2 dreams. And we know the dreams, right? It was, if it's 2 years later, what is it? This is another birthday. This is another birthday, right? Okay. Yes, it's very important. It's got to be the birthdays. It's at the birthdays, right? It is very important. Birthdays are bad because people die on birthdays. What? John, who else had died at the birthday? John the Baptist died. That was not his birthday. There's only 2 birthdays in the Bible. It's Pharaoh's birthday and Herod's birthday. And birthdays are bad because people die on birthdays.
Birthdays of people. They don't celebrate birthdays.
Yeah. I think they have something going there. Oh, yeah.
We don't celebrate birthdays.
They don't?
They don't want to get old.
Yeah.
We celebrate every 10 years because you get a decade of life, and that's lucky.
Yeah, the decade. Huh?
Don't celebrate birthdays.
Yeah. So, but we know at this birthday, what happens? Joseph is called, right? 2, it says what? These 2 is actually 1, right? These two dreams is actually 1, right? And what was the dream? We know the dream. There's 7. There are 7 cows. There what? 7 fat, and then 7 And the 7 skinny. And there was also 7 ears of corn that were fat, and then there were 7 ears of corn that were skinny. But what happened? There came the east wind. The east wind blasted. It was the east wind blasted. And it was that then it came the 7 years of famine, right? So the prediction was about the east wind. All right? Okay. Yeah, very, very important. Right? And what happened to Joseph? He was lifted up. Right? How was he lifted up? Now he was 30 years old. Is that important? Oh, very important. Why? But Jesus was 30. Who else was 30? Was David 30? I think, was he 30? John the Baptist was 30 also. Was 30. There's 30. There's several other 30s. But anyway, was it the priests or the Levites that are 30?
Oh, yeah. I think Levites.
The priests. The priests are 30 years old. Okay, the Levites are 25 years old. Okay.
It's a requirement.
Yeah, you can only be a priest when you're 30 years old. But you become a Levite when you're 25 years old. Right. So he's a priest. Okay, but he was lifted up, right? And how was he lifted up? That he now can ride on the second chariot. And he was given a wife. And he had a change of name. Right? And he had 2 sons. Okay. All right. So he was lifted up. All right. So now we have to put this on a line. And here's our lines. But we put that on the lines of the William Miller. Because the William Miller line lines up with our line. Okay, I wish I had put this low. I should have put it a little higher because this thing is blocking. You know, the problem is, no, I don't want to expand it. Yeah, that's okay. Just leave it like this.
Just don't move your cursor.
I know I have to leave my cursor over here. All right, but anyway, but I need to what here though? I need to still point at this. So this is the time of the Millerites. I said this is our time. We put this line here with this line, and we put now Joseph's line here. Okay, this is at pre-midnight. This is midnight. But now we can condense this. All right, we can condense this because this is the 3 lines. This is the first birthday here. The first birthday is separated by 2 years, and at 2 years now you give a prediction. You give a prediction that Islam is going to come, right? Because why? There's a pre-midnight prediction, and then at midnight, what happens? Jesus goes and gets captured. When Jesus goes and gets captured, who is Jesus brought to? The leaders. Did Jesus give a prediction about what's going to happen to Caiaphas? What is the prediction? That you will see me come back again, right? What about to Pilate also? Right. Jesus gives predictions to the leaders right here, right? All right. Okay. And Joseph gives a prediction about what's going to happen here, that the east wind is going to blast at midnight cry. Okay. So now we need to go, and you need to look at your Bible now. It's in Matthew 26. Matthew 26. Matthew 26, verse 2. Matthew 26, verse 2. Can you read that?
You know that after 2 days in the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
So what is Jesus doing 2 days before midnight? What did he do? He gave a prediction that the Son of Man is going to be betrayed. All right. Okay. What did he? Okay. Judas betrayed him. But it's very interesting. What did he just? If you back up and read the context of that prediction, what was he preaching? He was preaching about the 10 virgins parable. Right? He was actually giving the parable of the 10 virgins. Right? And also giving the parables of the 5, 2, and the 1 talent parable. Right? But he gave the 10 virgins parable here. And then he says, in 2 days' time, I am going to be what?
Betrayed.
I'm going to be betrayed. Now, was he specific as who's going to betray him? No, he was not very specific. And what about at the Passover? When he came to the Passover, was he more specific?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you can prove that in Matthew 26, verse 21.
He says what you have to do it.
Verily say I say to you that one of you shall betray me. And then what did he do? And whoever put his in the sop? Right? So was he specific as to who? Right. He was not very specific here. I'm making this as a point. There was a prediction here, it was not that specific. And then here, it became specific, right? At the Passover. Because it was 2 days' time, and then it led to Judas, right? And Judas betrayed Jesus, right? Because at midnight cry was that's the cross. We put the midnight cry at the cross, right? Okay, right. On multiple lines, we can put the midnight cry in the cross. How could we put the midnight cry at the cross? I'm going to ask you this. You got to think a little bit. How could the midnight cry be at the cross? Where was the first midnight cry? In Exodus. At the time of Moses, right? When the 10th plague came, And there was a cry at midnight. Who were crying at midnight?
The parents of
The parents of
first, the Egyptian.
the children, right? So it was at the Passover. The first Passover was the first midnight cry. And who is the Passover? Jesus is the Passover, right? So that's why the midnight cry is there's the Passover. The Passover is at midnight cry, right? Okay, all right. So now you see there's this pattern, right? There's predictions given here and predictions also given here, right? Okay, now let's go. Let's go here. We usually put that Josiah Litch makes a prediction. What prediction did he make in 1938?
1838.
In 1838.
August 11th.
Yeah. Now, what was his? Did he make a specific prediction that is going to be? What did he first say in 1838? That the Ottoman Empire will lose its power sometime in August of 1840. So he was not that specific, right? He wasn't that specific, right? But 2 years later, on August 1st, 1840, he specifically said that in 10 days' time, the Ottoman Empire will fall, that Islam is going to be restrained. So in 2 years' time, on August 1, 1840, that Islam is going to be restrained on August 11, 1840. Is Islam restrained here at Midnight Cry? Yes, because Islam attacks and then is restrained. Because Islam was attacked and restrained here, Islam attacked and restrained here, and then Islam attacked here again, right? So Islam attacked. So this is where the prediction came true, all right? Now you see this. So Josiah Litch makes a prediction before midnight, and also, Samuel Snow makes a prediction. And based on a fractal, we can also put that Josiah Litch makes a prediction before midnight. So we got two people making predictions, right? Josiah Litch makes a prediction about what? Islam, all right? That Islam will be restrained. What does Samuel Snow make? What is his prediction about? Samuel Snow makes a prediction about what? October 22, 1844. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Right? So his prediction is about here. Josiah Litch's prediction is about Islam. But Samuel Snow's prediction is about October 22, 1844. The judgment, right? The judgment that comes. All right. Okay. Wow. Now this is getting crowded here. Okay. Now I have to look at my notes. Where do we have? All right. Okay. He first makes a prediction in 1938. And that prediction, he fine-tunes it in 1838, and he fine-tunes it in 1840. So there's a connection between 38 and 40, right? Okay, there's a connection between 38 and 40. We're going to go into that a little bit more, right? Okay, now we go back here. And I gathered them together at the river that runneth to Ahava, and there abode we in tents 3 days, and I viewed the people and the priest, and found there none of the sons of Levi. All right. So he stayed there for 3 days. Then I sent for Eleazar. So he says, okay, we need more Levites. We need Levites. So he sent for Eleazar, for Ariel, for Shemaiah, Elnathan, Jarib, Elnathan. There's 2 Elnathans. And for Nathan, wow, there's Nathan. And for Zechariah, and Meshullam, and also Joyrib, and Elnathan. Oh, there's two Elnathans. There's three Elnathans. Men of understanding. And I sent them with commandment unto Edo. So I sent these, how many of them? There's 11. So he sent 11. Now, why is 11 important? Well, 9, 11, no. Why he said sent 11? He sent 11. 11 disciples, right? Those were the wise virgins. Because who became the foolish virgin? Because Judas, right? So he sent 11. So he sent 11, and I sent them with commandment into Edo, right? The chief at the place Casiphia, and told them what they should do unto Edo. And Edo is the what? He's the leader of the Nethinims. And the Nethinims were staying at Casiphia. And they should bring unto us ministers for the house of God. So he's calling for the Levites and the Nethinims. And Edo is the leader of the Nethinims, and he lives in Casiphia. All right? Okay. So he sends 11 men. All right, and Edo. Okay, what does Edo mean? Edo means adorned, beloved, and timely. So he sends a timely message, a timely message. Edo means timely. All right. What does Casiphia mean? Money, covetousness, or treasury. Right? He sends a timely messages to those people living in Babylon who are rich and of need of nothing. Right? Many who had acquired houses and lands had no desire to sacrifice their possessions. They loved ease and comfort and were well satisfied to remain in Babylon. They did not want to come out of Babylon. They're already rich, right? Right. It was a timely message for those people who were rich and they're living in money. Okay? All right. Okay. And by the good hand of our God upon us, they brought us a man of understanding of the son of Malai, the son of Levi. And now these people, they come out, and the sons of Levi, the son of Israel, and Sherebah. Now the Levites came out, and with his sons and his brethren 18. And Hashabiah, and with Jeshaiah, the son of Merari, and his brethren and their sons 20. So you know what? They identified Sherebah, they identified the Levites as Sherebah, Hashabiah, and Jeshaiah. So they identified 3 of them, and their sons, there's how many?
18 and 20.
18 and 20 is how many? 38. Wait a minute, isn't 38, didn't we just say 38 was significant? 1838. 38 is significant. There was 38 Levites that came out. And there's 3, and 3 of them are mentioned by name. Okay, this is a Bible study. This is really deep Bible study. All right? Okay. All right. And then, how many Nethinims came out?
220.
Is 220 significant? Very significant. 220 is very significant. All right? Okay, so 38 is significant. All right, now let's see. When we see Sherebah, Hashabiah, and Jeshaiah, can we just let that by? No, we can't let that by. Because there's 38 Levites. All right? Now, Ellen White says, the appeal was heeded. Some who had been halting and made final the decision to return. In all, about 40 priests, about 40 Levites, and 220 Nethinims. Now, Ellen White said there's about 40 priests. Why didn't she say 38? Because there's 38 Levites, and she called them about 40. because 38 and about 40 is significant. 38 is similar to 40. Okay, we're going to put that because there's only 4 other texts in the Bible that mentions 38. Right? Where does it say 38 in the Bible? Remember the story of the man that was lame and he was at the Bethsaida? And how old was he? He was 38. There's another story in the Bible. Okay, this is very significant. It's in Deuteronomy. Okay, it's in Deuteronomy. Okay, we got to go there. Deuteronomy 2, verse 13 to verse 18. Deuteronomy 2. Now this is when they have come out of Egypt, all right? And they have been walking, right? They've been walking in the circle. They've been walking. They went to the river Jordan and they couldn't go in because the spies, what? The spies did not believe, right? Except Joshua and Caleb. So what they would have to do? They have to go around and turn around and go walking again in the desert, right? And then finally they came back to the same place. They came back to Kadesh Barnea, right? Deuteronomy 2 verse 13. Now rise up, said I, and get you over the brook Sered. Now get you over the brook. Now there's a brook there. Here is also there's a brook. The brook of Ahava. The river Ahava. Here, this is a brook of Zered. And he went over the brook Zered. And the space in which we came unto Kadesh Barnea until we were come unto the brook Zered was 38 years. Until what? Until all the generations of the men of war are wasted.
So they say it was a total of 40 years, but from that
Right.
time it was 38
Right.
years.
Right. It was 40 Yeah, but it was 40 years, okay? How does the 38 and the 40 have that anything to do? Okay? Why did they have to wander around for 38 years? Because the people who did not believe had to be wasted, right? The warriors had to be wasted. And that has to be a purging out. There has to be a purging out, okay? For 38 years. For indeed the hand of the Lord was against them to destroy them among the host. They were all consumed. All right? And then after that they can go and go forward and go into Canaan. Right? But you go back to Deuteronomy 1:3. Deuteronomy 1 verse 3. And it came to pass in the 40th year, even in the 11th month or the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel according to all the time of the Lord had given him the commandment. This was actually the 40th year that they've come out of Egypt. Because when they came out of Egypt, on the 2nd year, they came to Kadesh Barnea. And that was when they did not believe, that the spies did not believe. And they had to go around for 38 more years until they came to the 40th year. So the 40th year is actually 38 years after Kadesh Barnea. The 40th year out of Egypt is actually 38 years out of Kadesh Barnea. So 38 is actually 40. Do you see that? Right? The 38 years out of Kadesh Barnea is the purging out of the people who don't believe, which is the 40th year out of Egypt.
And then they have to go back to Kadesh Barnea where they started.
Right, where they started. Right. That's why 38 is 40. Ellen White did not write this for nothing, because 38 is actually 40.
So 38.
Because it's 2 plus 30.
You can also say that.
Because it's 38 is 40.
That's right. But because these other two guys, maybe, I'm not sure.
They have to find the other two.
Yeah. But you know what? 38 is actually 40. Because
There's
38.
The first 2 years plus the 38
Right.
years that they
Yeah. Because the 38 is actually 40.
But I'm actually 40.
Yeah.
38 years was the time of purging.
Purging.
Virgin.
Purging. It's 40 years after being
That
come
ended at the end of the 38 years was the 40 years of when they left
When
Egypt.
Egypt. Now they can go back and go conquer Jericho. right?
When did they leave Egypt like this? First day, the 14th day?
No, Passover, the 14th day of the first month.
Yeah, 14th day.
Is that on the... All right, okay. All right. Hey, this is getting interesting here.
And I guess also
And-
because of the accounting of the calendars of the Jewish, and we're accounting it on our calendar.
Yeah, we have to use we have to use Jewish reckoning. Okay, sorry, brother. Okay, yeah, it's like, I actually don't need it this right now. All right, okay, and there's 220 Nethinims. All right, yeah, the 220. Why is the 220 important? Okay, let me see. Okay, all right, we're going to go there with the next slide, okay? All right, but I'm going to go here. What does Shariba mean? Shariba means Jah has brought heat and parched ground.
Who's
Jah has,
Jehovah.
Jehovah has brought heat and parched ground. Okay, what does Hashabiah mean? Hashabiah means Jah has regarded. Jah has regarded. Okay? And Jeshaiah means Jah has saved. So, if you put this together and make it into a sentence, Jah has regarded the people and he wants to save them out of the parched ground. Who are those people? Yeah. Well, there's the Levites and the Nethinims, right? So these were the sons of Merari. See, these are the people that had believed, but they had believed. They wanted to understand, but God is going to save them out of their parched ground. They did not really understand, but now they're given a chance to come in. Because the first it was given to the priest, and then it's given to the Levites, and it's given to the Nethinims. So this, you can say that these are the Levites and the Nethinims that God has still regarded them, and they're still going to be saved. It's not only the priests, all right? It's the Levites and the Nethinims too. Yeah, they can also join. They can also join the priests, right? Right. That's why they're being called out, right? You can come out of Babylon and join up with the priests who are waiting for you at Ahava. All right. So now we're going to go to, right? Now we're going to go to 220. Now before we go there, here you go. This is the timeline. This is according to James Ussher. James Ussher put this timeline here. Now this is the timeline that is written down by Edwin Thiel, right? Edwin Thiel, and he got it. Wow, it's off. It is really off. Okay, right. This off right here. Basically, it's off right here between the kingdom of Rent and the time of Jehu. It's off by 35 years, by almost 40 years. It's off. Okay, and that's why they can't get the chronology right. That's why they can't understand 39 and 40. The what of Ezekiel, right? Of Ezekiel. Okay, this is the revised chronology now that we understand this. Here is the 40 years, right? The 430 years that they were, the 430 years that the time of Abraham leaves Haran and received the covenant. And it was 430 years that they eventually came out of Egypt. And it is 40 years here, right? This is the 40 years that they eventually went into Jordan. We now know the years, all right, based on the chronologies that we get more and more and more refined. Okay, all right. Anyway, I just put it there just because we know it now. Okay, not that you have to memorize it or anything like that, but it's this is kind of like intellectual knowledge, right? That kind of increases our faith to know what is happening. Okay, now we continue with Ezra 8. Then I proclaimed a fast there at the river of Ahava, that we might afflict ourselves before our God, to seek of him a right way for us, and for our little ones and all our substances. For I have ashamed to require the king a band of soldiers and horsemen to help us against the enemy in our way. So what did they do? They proclaimed they fasted right here. They fasted right here, and they fasted and besought our God for this, and he was entreated of us. All right? Then I separated 12 of the chief of the priests, Sherebiah, Hashabiah, and 10 of their brethren with them. Now he separated 12, right? He separated 12, and he weighed them with silver and gold and vessels, even the offering of the house of our God, which the king and his counselors and his lord and all Israel there present had offered. Right? Now he had 11 men called the Levites and the Nethinims, but now he assigned 12 of them. Okay? After Judah, after hanged himself, right? I can't believe 12. What? Why is my mind going blank? Who was the one that? No.
No. Judas.
Judas. When Judas hanged himself, there was only 11. But then who replaced?
Was
Matthias. So then now there's 12 of them, right? So there's 12 of them, right? So there's 12 Levites now. Okay? And I said unto them, ye are holy unto the Lord. The vessels are holy also. And the silver and gold are a freewill offering unto the Lord God. Watch ye and keep them until ye weigh them before the chief of priests and Levites and the chief of father of Israel and Jerusalem. So you have to guard the temple equipment, all right, until you get to Jerusalem. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. And I've shown you forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness. Now they're joining to become a holy nation. Now they are now called. You can now see that this is describing what? Right. Which church are they now? Well, they're now the church triumphant, right? A chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. All right. So now these are the 12 Levites. Then we departed from the river Ahava on the 12th day of the first month to go unto Jerusalem and the hand of our God. So the 12 Levites here are now made up. And they're the church triumphant. The church triumphant starts at midnight because now the priests are now made up, right? At midnight. Their probation has closed. The priests, they have enough oil. Now they can go, right? They now have the perfect character of Christ. They can start up the church triumphant. They start up, then the Levites will join. Because the Levites will join here, and the Nethinims will join here. Okay? All right. On the 12th day of the first month. On the 12th day of the first month. So there's a 12 and a 12. Well, I guess at midnight cry, there's doubling too. I guess in a way you can see it that way. There's the doubling here. Midnight cry, you always see doublings. But there can be doubling here too. All right. Okay, and we came to Jerusalem, abode there, and then they went to Jerusalem. Okay, now I'm going to go to the part where you see, now this becomes very confusing here. Very crowded. Okay, maybe I should back up. Maybe I should back up here. The traffic is heavy. Okay. The story of, now we go into the story of Gideon. The story of Gideon, right? Because that's the story of the 220. Now 220 can also mean 22,000, right? Because one day one day unto the Lord is like 1,000 years. It's like 100 years. It's like 10. So 1 is 10, is 100, is 1,000. So 220 is like 22,000, right? So when Gideon first, now I have to do this out of my, because I just did it this morning. I have to do this out of memory. When Gideon first called, you have to go to Judges 6 and Judges 7. When Gideon first called the people to join up and go fight the Midianites, which tribes did he call them from? Now he was from the tribe of what? Which tribe was he from? The smallest of the tribe in the 10 northern kingdoms. Which was the... No, Benjamin is from the south. Which is the smallest tribe in the north?
Don't ask me that.
It's Manasseh.
Oh, Manasseh.
Ephraim is the biggest, but Manasseh is the smallest. He's from the tribe of Manasseh. And Manasseh was actually the smallest, right? Yeah. So Gideon was called from Manasseh. But what happened? Then he called his fellow Israelites, and we're going to go fight the Midianites. Now, who did he call? You look in Judges 6. He called Zebulun. No, wait a minute. He called 3 tribes. He called 3 tribes. I already made the notes, but I lost my notes. I can't remember.
Naphtali, Zebulun, Asher.
Okay, who? Naphtali, Asher,
And Zebulun.
Zebulun. Okay, remember those 3. This is important.
135.
We don't know why it's important, but I just realized why it's important. Okay, he called Naphtali, Zebulun, and Asher. Okay, and then he called, and how many came out? It doesn't say there right away, but 32,000 came out. Because why? Why did 32,000 came up? Because then he says, okay, you who are afraid, you go back. And he was at the mount. He was at the mountain when he said this. You who are afraid, you can go back. And what were the reasons why you can go back? There's 3 reasons why you can go back. If you had a wife, you were first married. What else? It's actually in Judges 7. What are the 3 reasons why you can go back? Because you are married, you just got married, and what? You just bought a house, or you just bought a vineyard, right? Okay. If you bought a vineyard, you have bought a house, and you are married, you just married, you don't have to join. You'll go back. You're excused. And how many went back? 22,000. Okay. What does that mean? It connects with the 220. Right? So that must be the Nethinims. Now, why are the Nethinims excused from joining? Well, that's true too. Why are they excused? Because their probation is not yet. Right? Their probation comes here. The Levites' probation is here. The priest probation is here. Right? Their probation is later. Okay? That's why they're right. And then what happens to them? They next come to a river. What happens at the river? Now there's only 10,000 of them at the river. When they come to the river, see, there's a river right here. They come to a river again. What happens at the river? They were cut to 300. But how are they cut? Those who, right, those who are ready and only kneeling down and use their hands, right, to bring the water into their hands, there are only 300 of them, and they can go on. But those who take their time, what did Ellen White say? what's the difference between these two groups? One has the sense of urgency of the time of what is happening, right? They're ready to fight just in case the Midianites are going to come, right? They have the sense of urgency of what is happening. They're in a time of war. They don't just leave their and then just go down on their knees and drink like a dog. And they lap like a dog, right? They don't have the sense of urgency. But the thing is that they don't have the sense of urgency yet. They can go home.
So those are the Levites.
Yeah. See, this is where it's at. These are not really the bad people.
Actually,
They don't have the sense of urgency
the
yet.
ones that were lapping were 300,
Right.
and the ones who kneeled down,
They lap with their hands, though. They lap with their hands.
the ones that kneeled down, I guess
Right.
they had took their time, they knelt down. And drank.
Right, because they drank like a dog. Right.
Yeah, but the ones who were like doing it quickly.
Right, because they had the sense of. Now, Ellen White said because they had the kind of like the urgency of the hour. They know what hour it is. Okay, and what are those 300? Those are the priests who are ready, right? Okay, and then they went, because those 300 were the ones who are chosen to follow the example of Gideon and what? And breaking what did they hide their torch under? A jar. Okay, what does the jar mean? They break the jar so that the light can shine from underneath the jar. What's the jar? Yeah, what? It's your flesh. It's your flesh. Now they have overcome flesh, and now that Christ can shine from inside of them. Right?
Christ in you.
Christ and you can now shine. They broke away their flesh. They got rid of their flesh has died now, and now they can that's shine, and they can blow the trumpet now, right? And they fought, and the Midianites, the Amalekites, and the children of the east, they fought each other. Okay, now there's one thing that we always miss. What did Gideon say? After that, he said, all you Israelites, come join. Who were asked to come and join again? Come join and chase the Midianites. Who were the children of Israel that were asked to come and join again?
30,000.
Those who had went back. Now they can jump and join. Right? Because that's why the Midianites, the priests are the 300. But the 220 and the 10,000 minus 300, they were stayed home because they were not ready. They were not ready yet. Right? It's only the priests that were ready for their close of probation. They were given a chance for their close of probation that comes here. Because it's the children of, now it's the children of Asher, and I think it's 7 verse, in the last part of 7. Verse what, 23 or 24?
I think the 24.
Who was the children that was asked?
Messengers throughout all Ephraim. What do you
To call for who?
Come down against the Midianites and take before them the waters unto the
And who is it that came?
Out of Naphtali.
Naphtali?
Out of Manasseh.
Right. So these guys came back.
23 and 24.
So that's, you see, so those people weren't the bad people. They actually can join later. Right? So do you see that's why they're the Nethinims? So the Nethinims, the message is given to the Nethinims and the Levites, but they're not ready yet. Right? They're not ready yet. Right? They don't have the sense of urgency yet. They have like their wives, their lands, and all this. They're not ready.
The wives part.
No, it's in the Bible.
It's not there. It says those who are fearful.
Yeah, but you go see it. It's in the Bible right there. Those who still have wives and those who are the vineyard.
Afraid, let him return in part.
You got to read some more verses around it.
That's verse 3.
Right? You read some more. All right? So those who don't have the sense of urgency and who are not ready yet. But later on, they can join, right? And those are the Levites and the Nethinims. Okay. All right. So now we go to this big one here. Oh boy. So when we studied Medo-Persian kings, when we studied the Roman kings, Roman rulers, and we studied the Millerites, and we put it on our timeline, this, with all of this, we realize that Zechariah and Haggai gave predictions. Agabus and Philip gave predictions. And Josiah Litch and Samuel Snow gave predictions. And they all made predictions, and Jesus made predictions, right? Jesus made a prediction. What is amazing also is that when Josiah Litch made a prediction, at pre-midnight, his prediction was a little bit vague. It was not very specific. Even Jesus says, I am going to be betrayed. Josiah Litch said that the Ottoman Empire will fall sometime in August 1840. But when it came to midnight, Jesus says, one of you who drinks the sop, you put the bread in the sop, he's specifically showing it's Judas. And Josiah Litch, he says, on August 1, 1840, he says that on August 11, 1840, he puts it to the date on August 11, 1840. Now, Samuel Snow, he was saying it's in the 7th month. They were initially saying 7th month, until they came to pre-midnight. Then he started saying that it's the Day of Atonement, October 22, 1844. So then they became more specific. And even eventually at midnight, he says that on October 22, 1844, the bridegroom going to come at the Day of Atonement, at the antitypical Day of Atonement. Right? So now we have all these. It's very confusing. It's like the wheels within the wheels of Ezekiel, right? But these lines tell us about predictions at midnight, right? Yeah, and we also studied about Joseph and prediction that he made at pre-midnight to the butler and the baker, and then he gave the prediction to the Pharaoh, right? Pharaoh also. And let's see, we put in 38 and 40 with the story of the Israelites at Kadesh Barnea. All right? Okay. So that basically ends our Tidings, the story of Tidings, and we transition to pre-midnight predictions. So we're going to do a little bit more lines with prediction at midnight, and then we'll go to the realm of Grecia next time. All right? Yeah, and then we'll show what happens in World War I, World War II. That's very interesting. Because that is going to show what's going to happen at the wars that Ellen White say is going to rage just before Jesus comes. Ellen White says in Maranatha that wars will rage just before Jesus comes. Right? And how do we know what's going to happen at those wars? We look at the wars that happened, World War I and World War II. Okay. And that is a more sure word of prophet.